Welcome to the Media Do International panel for FujoCon 2022, Yaoi, BL, and Shikishi, oh my. First, before we get into the panel itself, I'd like to introduce some of the people behind this panel who are a part of Media Do International. There's Beth Kawasaki, the Executive Director of Content and Marketing, and myself, Stephanie Boria. I'm the Associate Manager of Production and Marketing. Together, we put together, I'd say, a pretty fun panel for you that introduces some of our catalog. Media Do International is the subsidiary of the Japanese company Media Do, who is the largest ebook distributor in Japan. And obviously, being Japan, there is a heavy focus on manga. And we have quite a catalog for you. This is just a small preview of some of the BL that we brought to America. We have a lot more, of course, that we don't have time to showcase. An hour is not enough time for that. And we have a lot that's not BL as well, although obviously FujoCon focus is BL and Yaoi, but if you're interested in other things as well, we do have a wide variety of ratings and topics and other manga as well for you to check out. But first, let's start off with Animate International. This is a publisher that you may know better as Libre. We are very excited to bring some of their titles to the US for the first time in English. First, we'll start off with Living with Him. This is about childhood friends who reunite in college and begin living together. Obviously, this is a BL, so you can kind of guess where this is going. But one of the characters, Ryota, he finds out that his roommate's going to be his childhood friend, Kazuhito, who is basically, the perfect guy growing up. But Kazuhito's only flaw is that he doesn't have a girlfriend, and Ryota's confused by this. So he starts, examining his friend to guess, from a girlfriend point of view, what are his flaws. But looking at him from this angle causes new feelings and new thoughts to emerge, and they have to decide, are they going to stay friends? Are they going to be more than friends? It's a BL. I guess you can probably guess how it's going to go. The author is Toru Miyata. It's available now for $6.99. It's an ebook wherever you get your ebooks. The art is very nice. I like it myself. I think there are very clean lines, and the attention to detail, which you can see here with the food cooking, is a lot of fun, I think. I wish I could draw myself, so you're going to hear me fangirl about the art a lot, and I hope you feel the same way as me. The next title is Living with Him Heating Up. It's a bonus story. It is a little bit of a spoiler as to how Living with Him ends up, obviously, because this is a side story sequel. And it's about their passion as it unfolds for one another. This one is a side story. It's not a full volume, so this one is a little bit cheaper at $2.99. It's also available now wherever you get your ebooks. The art continues to be good, as you can see here. Next up is Breathless Momentum. Opposites attract when a playboy saxophone player and a well-mannered flutist find synchronicity outside of their musical performances. This is a classic tale of opposites attract. One of them is a kind of bad boy bartender who hits on anything that moves. The other is the perfect guy who's looked up to by the other people in their woodwind choir. And no one would guess that these two would get along, much less that they might have something more behind the scenes. The art for this one is a lot of fun too. This one also has quite a bit of humor to it, I think. You can kind of see here in the art that one of them is playing a lullaby for the other, and they're like, is that what you would think of as a lullaby? But it's fun. If you like music as well, or if you play the flute, it's also fun for your knowledge, I guess. You can look at it, read it, and go, oh yeah, that's a thing that happens. Next up is Mask Danshi. This shouldn't lead to love. This one is called two classmates. One of them is very shy. He always wears a mask, and this intrigues his classmate, Saikawa. So he rips off Sayama's mask one day because he's really curious about what's going on. And obviously, that is a little bit of an issue with respecting someone else's boundary. But this is a BL, so of course, he minds it at first, but then he doesn't mind it so much down the line. Only, of course, when it is Saikawa who is removing the mask. If someone else did it, it would not be nearly as okay. This book is available now wherever you get your ebook for $6.99. Sorry that it keeps flipping like that. My laptop is not cooperating the best for just going one slide. But as you can see, this is a little bit of the artwork here, where he is in the process of removing the mask. Not so nice the first time, but like I said in the story, their relationship develops and these boundaries shift and change as they get to know each other and trust each other a little bit more. This time it only did one. Next up is Tashiro-Kun. Why are you like this? Looks and actions may be deceiving when Ebihara realizes his college classmate Tashiro has feelings for him. Why is Tashiro-Kun like this? In order to find out, he is a little bit awkward, I will say that. He's a member of the manga research club, and he's obsessed with rhythm games, which, if you know Japanese, you know that those are very fun and not uncommon. He's also, of course, a little bit wealthy, which might add to the idiosyncrasies, and it's just about their figuring out why Tashiro-Kun is like this. This is also available now for $6.99. The art has a lot of clean lines. As you can see here, an example of the awkwardness. And it's a fun read. If you have ever wondered why you're like this, maybe you'll find out why by reading this. Maybe you'll sympathize or empathize with Tashiro-Kun. I know I have at certain points in my life. Next up is The World's End. This is a collection of two short stories, The Frog Prince and an AI science fiction tale. The Frog Prince is about a young man named Yui Nishino who is beautiful, but he thinks his good looks are more of a burden because everyone is jealous of his good looks and they don't bother to get to know who he is as a person, of course, until he spots one of his classmates while he's at his job. And he's like, will this guy be the one to discover it, to look deeper than the surface? You'll have to read to find out. The second story, The World's End, Shin is on a terraforming mission, and he keeps in contact with Rukia, an engineer who's on Earth. And obviously, being in space on a terraforming mission, it's quite lonely. But he has an AI to keep him company. And when he's about to go back to Earth, Rukia has some terrible news for him. I'm not going to spoil what that news is, but they are very fun reads. And with the world, slowly lighting on fire and with climate change and all, maybe terraforming planets in the future isn't that far off. Here's some of the art. I really like this style personally. The flowers in the background I think are stunning, the attention to detail. And I like how the artist, which is Sagan Akagawa, has drawn people. It's a little bit more modern, I think. Next up is Lala's Married Life. This is a fun take on mistaken identity. Well, twin switching identity, I suppose, is a better way to say it, which is very interesting because in this case, the twins are a boy and a girl. Lala is engaged to Wolseley, but she's in love with someone else. So her brother, Ramdane, agrees to pretend to be her and marries Wolseley, which you'd think that Wolseley would notice because his bride is now a boy and not a girl. But you know what? It does not stop Wolseley. And Ramdane has to deal with the consequences of his choice, and so does Lala. I enjoyed the story. There are 3 volumes. Volume 1 is available now. Volume 2 is available in June. I'm not sure when Volume 3 is coming out, but it has, I think, a satisfying conclusion to the story that you will have to read yourself to find out. As you can see, here's a little bit of the art. This is their... I don't want to spoil it, so you can just take in the art. That is a very impressively drawn back. I wish I had muscles like that. Next up is Kabukicho Bad Trip. If you're familiar with Japan, I'm sure you've heard of Kabukicho. It's an area in Tokyo that has a lot of host clubs and things like that. So the king of all hosts in Kabukicho, Toru Miyama, is a mind reader, which you would think in his line of work is maybe not the greatest skill to have, but he meets his favorite male model, Mizuki Hikawa, and because he's a mind reader, he gets to find out a little bit more about what he's into. And it turns out that he's really into S&M. And their relationship develops from there. I will say that Mizuki, the male model, does only want someone who is genuinely interested in the same things that he's into, so that is something to, I would say, a plus, something in his favor. The art for this is, really good. This is a funny little 2-page for you. Hope you enjoyed it. But I like the art as well. I think this artist does a great job drawing people. Good attention to hair, and you can really get a lot from the expressions that are drawn here, especially the bottom right. I have felt like that a few times in my life, sometimes in job interviews. Next, this is an exclusive Fujocon announcement. 20 plus official BL ebook releases available for the first time in English from Kobunsha. Kobunsha is a publisher. It's a imprint of Kodansha in Japan, and they have quite a few novels. We are, of course, this is Fujocon, we're going to focus on some of their BL imprints. First off is My Beloved Lord. This is a little bit of a ghost possession story. So the Lord, Otona-sama, one day possesses Natsuki, who's a regular high school boy. And this ghost that he's possessed by was a lord who served in a previous incarnation, in a previous life. The two had vowed to master the 48 moves together before they died, but unfortunately they died before they could fulfill that promise with each other. So the lord, of course, said that he couldn't be reborn until he managed to master these 48 moves with Natsuki. Poor Natsuki does not remember any of this. Whether he is the reincarnation or not is never really clarified, but of course this is a BL story, so he agrees with the Lord to master those 48 moves, kind of like the Kama Sutra. This is by Haruka Komusubi sensei. It will be available in June. It will be $6.99, and let's see if I can just make it to the art. Yes, so here's the art. As you can see, there's a lot of attention to details. The costumes are very intricate to properly pay respect to the Lord. We have some exciting news about this one too, because we have a little bit of a Q&A from the mangaka, Haruka Komusubi sensei. She actually started drawing manga with doujinshi, as surprisingly many mangaka have, or maybe not surprising. She was participating in Comiket, a giant convention in Japan, a comic market, when she was approached by a manga editor to, become a professional, which just kind of speaks to how good an artist she is and the quality of her work. She's inspired by things that she likes or is interested in, such as historical figures, which you can probably guess from this story itself. She's also interested in ecology. Maybe some of her other works have that focus on ecology. She draws in analog using a round pen, or that's what she used to do, but now she does everything digitally, from the name to the drawing using Clip Studio software. And her favorite book is The Tale of Heike, which is a Japanese classic if you're unfamiliar. This is, another nod to her interest in history and Japanese history and historical figures. But even more exciting than getting a Q&A with Komusubi sensei is that she has actually drawn Shikishi specifically for Fujokan attendees. As you can see here, these are the 3 Shikishi that she has drawn and signed. I think the art is stunning, and I wish I could enter and win one myself, but unfortunately, legally, I cannot. However, luckily for you, there are 2 ways that you can enter and win one of these Shikishi. You can enter on the Fujokan site, or you can go to netgalley.com and you can read the first chapter for free of My Beloved Lord. Once you finish reading it, if you leave a review, we will pick one person, well, 3 people, 1 or 2 people, I can't quite remember at this moment, to win a Shikishi from the reviews, from the list of people who have left reviews. Obviously, we would like it if you left a 5-star, but we want your honest opinion. So please read it. Let us know what you think. If you enjoy the first free chapter, go ahead and buy the whole novel. It would really help us out. And yeah, I hope that you win the signed Shikishi. Next up is Love Patisserie. This is about a patisserie worker, Erimo, who is, there's a regular customer that comes in, a novelist named Kai, who has an unknown past, and Kai keeps hitting on Erimo, but Erimo isn't sure of whether Kai is being genuine, just being flirty with his server, and it's a problem because Erimo has developed real feelings for Kai, and this novel focuses on their relationship. As you can probably guess from the story being here, Kai is genuine. So it just focuses on them and their developing relationship, and it has a little bit of a focus on sweets. It's a running theme throughout the story, which makes sense considering it is the background is a patisserie. Here's a little bit of the art. This one's a little bit more old school, I'd say a little bit more classic. As you can probably tell from the attention to detail. I thought it was really cute that the author, Kai, drew a heart on Erimo's hand. To me, that screams genuine. That's not something someone would normally do if they were just playing around, but what do I know? Next up, we have Mahjong, Parlor of Love. The stakes are high at a small Mahjong parlor when a part-time worker reveals his true intentions to become the manager's husband. So, there is a little bit of a twist to this one. It's not just an employee confessing to his boss. That has elements of a power imbalance. This one kind of doesn't have that as much because the part-time employee is actually a pro Mahjong player who was working in bigger Mahjong parlors and who, has made a name for himself, has been in magazines. So he actually is bringing business in to the boss, to this Mahjong parlor, because he's in love with the manager. So, that power imbalance isn't quite there. Actually, I would say more of the power lies in the employee's hands than in the manager's because he's bringing more people in. But it's really fun to see them as their relation develops because the manager has never really thought of a man as a potential love interest and how he deals with that. And of course, there's a little bit of Mahjong information here, so if you're familiar with the game, you can enjoy those nods. If you're not familiar with it, you don't need to know in order to enjoy the story, but you might learn a little bit. This one will also be available in June for $6.99. The mangaka is Meteo Hoshitsuki. Here's a little bit of the art and a little kiss for you. It's a very happy kiss, as you can tell by the happy tears. And this is a little bit of what I was talking about where the manager is like, wait, he likes me? I don't know how to deal with this. He's a guy. Next up is also continuing with the board game theory, a story called Stalemate. This is about Shinichi, who learned chess from his uncle Chiharu's house. And he keeps playing chess with him it's his safe space because he's an awkward and shy child, and he grows up into an awkward and shy teenager. But as he's confident on the chessboard, playing against his uncle, and their relationship takes a turn for the forbidden. The art, I think, is very nice for this one as well. Nice backgrounds, good attention to details, as you can see by that chess set right there. And I just like, even though it is just drawings, like you can tell in the art on the page on the right, that slouch, he's a little bit sad. I'm just very impressed with how much they can convey with a pen and paper, basically. Next up, we have Professor Strangelove by Tomoei Sasahara. This is about a struggling student, Hayama, who is kind of voluntold to participate in Professor Shina's research experiment because he doesn't have enough credits to pass his first year of university. And it turns out this experiment that he's doing is an experimental drug. And this drug is the easily fall in love drug because Professor Shina saw Hayama at the orientation for students, the very first day, opening ceremony, and it was love at first sight for Professor Shina. He just fell in love with Hayama. Hayama had no clue this was going on, had never really interacted with Professor Shina besides knowing his name because he is a genius, and isn't really super thrilled to have to do extra credit in order to pass. But, he does what he has to do, as we all would in the situation. Goes into this very blind, not knowing what's going on. And, of course, how else do you administer medicine besides, or an experimental drug besides mouth to mouth? And Hayama's first real introduction to Professor Shina is, of course, that mouth-to-mouth transfer of the drug, which makes him klutzy, because obviously love comes from, tripping over people. That tripping and that adrenaline creates a situation where people easily fall in love. Whether that's true or not, I will leave to scientists. That's beyond my pay grade, but it is a very fun premise. This is a series. I believe there are 4 volumes total. The first one will be out this month. It'll be $6.99, like all of the other Kobuncha titles. Here's a little bit of the art, and there's the aforementioned mouth-to-mouth medicinal transfer. And it's the beginning of a fun, stressful time for Hayama, and a challenging but fun time for Professor Shina. He is a genius because, that isn't a very impressive drug to create that can stimulate those hormones and make someone a klutz. But maybe he should be using his power for good instead of, I guess, chaotic. It's not quite evil, but it is chaos. We did have a Q&A with Tomoei Sasahara sensei. Her favorite character to create was Professor Shina, which I get. Professor Shina he's the kind of character which you can make him do anything and you go, yeah, that checks out, because he's chaos. He's very random. You think of something and he does it, and you're like, yeah, okay. But it does make you wonder a little bit about her thought processes, because that is a very chaotic character. The easiest thing for her to draw is cute boys, and as we saw in the previous slides, I think she's very good at it. She likes to work sitting at her kotatsu. If you're unfamiliar, a kotatsu is a heated table. It's a table low to the ground with a heater inside, and you put a quilt over it to trap the heat. They are lifesavers in Japan in the winter when it's cold and you're in a drafty house. I really wish America brought them over because they're wonderful. And to all the Fujo-Con attendees, Sasahara sensei would like you to continue enjoying yourself and to have a great time at the con. But wait, that's not all. We have a giveaway. Just like the other giveaway, there are 2 ways to enter. You can either go to the Fujo-Con site, which I have listed here. It's fujocon.com/mdi-kobuncha-giveaway. Or you can go to NetGalley, read the first chapter for free of this title, Professor Strangelove, and you can leave a review. just like the other one, the book will be available until July 15th, and you have until July 31st to get that review in. If you enjoy the book, I hope you purchase the volume, although of course that is not necessary for the giveaway. And we do hope you enjoy it and feel like giving us 5 stars. Again, that is not necessary to win the Shikishi, to be entered to win, but it is very much appreciated. And your reviews will go back to the mangaka. I will probably myself be taking them, translating them, and sharing them. So what you say will make it back. Please be kind if you can. If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. But we appreciate your feedback. It is always a great thing to hear from readers, what they liked, what they didn't like, and it helps us, make decisions going forward about what titles to bring over. Next up is Wolf and Little BL Red Hood. This is a BL twist on the popular fairy tales Little Red Riding Hood, Hansel and Gretel, The Snow Queen, and a few others. The artist is Kotaro Kobayashi, and the writer is Ume Yamada-sensei. This will also be released in June for $6.99. The cover art features the wolf right there. The hunter is holding his collar, and Little Red Hood is the one tickling him with one of the cat toys, the little feather toys, I guess. So as you can tell, the power dynamic is a little different than this in the traditional Red Riding Hood, where it's the big bad wolf and Little Red Riding Hood is the one, at risk of being eaten. I'd say in this one, probably, as you can tell, the wolf is the one who is more at risk of being eaten. It's interesting to see how people can reimagine such well-known stories. Hansel and Gretel took a very different turn. I won't spoil anything. I will say you should read it to enjoy it yourself. The Snow Queen was also very different. It was a very different take from the original. Here's some of the art specifically for the Little Red Riding Hood story in this series. The Little Red Riding Hood has come in, noticed that his house is all messed up, and then notices that Grandma suddenly has a tail. So it's a fun reimagining. Next up is This Onmyoji is Bad News. If you're unfamiliar, an Onmyoji is loosely translated a yin-yang master. In Japan, it's a job where people keep the spirit world and the human world kind of in balance. It's all about making sure there are no bad spirits that are, no poltergeists ruining families and houses and things like that. And professional Onmyoji Harutaka is the next in line to be the head of his family. He can purify corruption. He has a lot of latent power, but he is young, so he is, still in the process of learning how to become even better at his job. And because he is the next head of the family and because he's still in training, he does have a fellow Onmyoji who's a distant relative to be his bodyguard for the past 2 years, but is bodyguard and protectee like the only relationship between the two? As you can probably guess, no. You can see in the cover that the relationship is a little bit more than that. The artist is Hiroshi Asagi, the writer is Toka Namimaki. This is also coming out in June for $6.99, and the art is a lot of fun here as well. I think the artist is very good at drawing emotions. You can see like waking up and confused, a little bit indignant, a little bit angry kitten going on, and then a little bit of embarrassment. I just think this artist is really good at what they do. Legend of Mad BL Momotaroh. This is another manga that takes fairy tales and gives them a BL twist, just like Little Red Riding Hood one. This one, the artist is Tomoei Sasahara sensei, the same as Professor Strangelove, and adapted by Ume Yamada sensei, because these are very well-known fairy tales. They include Momotaroh, which, if you're unfamiliar, Momotaroh is a Japanese fairy tale about a boy who hatches from a peach that an old lady found floating down a river. She and her husband don't have any kids, so they adopt this boy because he's obviously, sent from above, quite literally, possibly. and it focuses on his hijinks as he goes to defeat the ogres at Ogre Island, Onigashima, and the friends slash minions he collects along the way. In this version, there are definitely more minions than friends, and it adds a BL twist where you can probably tell from the cover that is an Oni, an ogre, and the one with the peach headband is Momotaroh. There are other stories as well. The Ugly Duckling, and I believe the Emperor's New Clothes is in the story as well. It's very well drawn as well. As you can tell, this artist is still great at drawing cute boys, and this one also, you can see a little bit more attention to backgrounds here. I love the little Oni Island in the background on the right page, and the flowers are very lovely on the left page. It's fun to read. Like I said before, I love seeing fairy tales adapted, and this is no disappointment. This one is also a very fun read. Next up is A Story of Love That I Do Not Know. This is by Sachi Murakami sensei. Sachi Murakami sensei is pretty well known in the BL world. He has a lot of stories out. In this particular series, they're loosely related, not necessarily volume 1, 2, and 3, but a lot of the characters overlap, so it's kind of the same universe. In this one, Arima wants Saiki to give him his heart, but Saiki's ex is Arima's neighbor, and his ex has left scars that haven't healed, both emotionally and physically. And the physical scars were not necessarily consented to entirely, so that adds to some trauma. Arima is determined to convince Saiki that, he's not like that he's better for him, and, wants to help him heal from it and just become a better relationship for the both of them. It's a really cute story. There's a little bit of jealousy, which you can kind of see here. If you read the story, it makes more sense. But it's another great artist as well. You can see, again, I think the emotions are well done here, where this one's like a little embarrassed, a little bit grumpy to wake up, and I feel that on a spiritual level. We have a Q&A from Sachi Murakami sensei. She likes to work in her room, which is the most relaxing place to draw, but her cats get in the way. And as someone who has many cats and who fosters cats, I feel that. I really do. She draws on a manuscript paper using a G pen and a round pen, but then scans it and finishes it digitally using Clip Studio, which I think is pretty neat. I think it's very cool that you can integrate technology, but still, be comfortable with analog style. I also personally really like analog, not for drawing, just for, writing and things like that. But I appreciate the convenience of digital. Sachi Murakami sensei's current favorite manga is Jujutsu Kaisen. I'm sure there's people in the audience who can also, sympathize with that. It's a good series. Her favorite manga that she's created is the Night series, which this is a part of. The Story of Love That I Do Not Know is one in this Night series. Another one is Your Treacle Affects at Night, which we are also releasing. Surprise! This is a story about Kijima, who is drawn to his co-worker Minami, who, similar to a love story that I do not know, there is trauma and, feeling not good enough for each other and helping each other heal from past wounds because they're different people and they have a different relationship, which is good. You shouldn't let your past relationship affect your current relationship beyond reasonable limits. Here's another 2 pages of this. And some more exciting news is that we have another Shikishi giveaway. This is the 3rd and final one. So same as before, you can either enter through the Fujokon site or you can go to NetGalley and read the first free chapter. leave a review. If you like it, go ahead and buy this novel and the other one as well. I do believe that we have more night series coming out later this year. I'm not positive of the title or the release date, but I'm pretty sure we have at least one more. And Sachi Murakami sensei also has other titles that have been released through other publishers as well. So go ahead and just check out all of her work. She's a great mangaka. And same deal, this one is only available for 3 weeks. If you are incredibly lucky, there's a non-zero chance that you could theoretically win a Shikishi from each one, from each author, from Chie, Sasahara sensei, and Komusubi sensei as well. I can't promise that, but it's a non-zero chance. And we have more manga coming up as well from Kobuncha. As I was saying earlier, we have another 10 or 11 chapters coming out later this year. 10 or 11 volumes coming out later this year. And keep an eye out for them because they are also very fun as well. Some of them are continuations of some of the series that I introduced here. I won't spoil anything. I'll just say keep an eye out. But in addition to those future Kobuncha titles, we have even more manga. Some of them coming from Wave Comics, some of them coming from Screamo. I believe we're getting I don't have an exact number of this series, but it's a bunch. It's a ton that is coming out from them. Some of them are in chapter form and some of them are in full volume form. So if you prefer to read your BL chapter by chapter, we can provide that. Or if you want all of it at once in a combined volume, that will be available for you as well. And that is the end of our little sneak peek into our catalog. Like I said, we do have a lot more out there. We have BL from Nihonbun Geisha, we have BL from Prontops Publishing, Toriko. There's a lot out there that we have. Of course, other BL publishers as well through other companies. But we hope you enjoyed your time with us. Thank you so much for spending this panel with us. We really appreciate your support and your time, and we hope you had a good time, and we look forward to getting your reviews for those 3 free chapters on NetGalley. And a huge thank you to Fujokan for letting us have this slot, for letting us talk to the fans, and for supporting us in our BL journey. Have a great rest of Fujokan, everyone. Stay safe, stay healthy, and I wish you all the best in your BL journeys. Have a great one. Bye.